If you want to be a MAGA Republican, which I don't know why you would, but if you did, you would have to possess two traits. The first is complete loyalty to Donald Trump, fealty to the MAGA cult. And the second is a lack of shame, being willing to debase yourself, humiliate yourself, and lie on behalf of Donald Trump all the time. To be a complete hypocrite in every action you take. And hypocrisy perfectly came up, and really imperfectly came up, for one specific Republican member of Congress, Byron Donalds, recently. When not only did he break a law, but broke a law, made a criminal act that was instituted and passed by the Republican Congress. It doesn't get more hypocritical than what Byron Donalds just did, and he was just called out for it. And we are going to get into all of that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now let's get into Congressman Jim McGovern calling out Byron Donalds for the lie he broke.
And so Republicans need every single vote to pass crummy partisan bills like this one. They can't afford to have any of their members miss a vote. And Mr. Speaker, when Democrats were in charge, when I was the chairman of the Rules Committee, we actually put in place proxy voting in response to a worldwide pandemic. Anyone could cast their vote remotely if they had an excused absence. Because it's 2025 and not 1725, and we actually can use technology to vote remotely. The backlash we got from Republicans on this was insane. You know, they went out to the press and they said that proxy voting was illegal. It's unconstitutional. It's this, it's that. And guess what? They did it themselves. Speaker Johnson voted remotely 39 times. Let me repeat that. Speaker Johnson voted remotely 39 times. And he voted remotely so he could go home early. He voted remotely so he could visit school kids. He voted remotely for an entire week once. He just didn't show up. Then, despite him voting remotely dozens of times previously, when Johnson became Speaker, he ended remote voting because he said it was, quote, unconstitutional. Unconstitutional. Yet he voted remotely 39 times. So imagine my surprise, Mr. Speaker. Totally blew my mind this week when I see that Representative Byron Donalds somehow voted, and he wasn't even here in this building. Mr. Speaker, I have a parliamentary inquiry.
Parliamentary inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, are members allowed under the House rules to vote by proxy?
Inquiry.
Are members allowed under House rules to vote by proxy?
Rule 3, a member may not authorize another person to cast their vote, and members are also prohibited from casting a vote on behalf of another member.
So further parliamentary, Mr. Speaker, are members allowed to vote by proxy if they have a TV appearance in California that they really want to go to?
Under Clause 2 of Rule 3, a member may not authorize another person to cast their vote, and members are also prohibited from casting a vote on behalf of another member.
Right. So this is really interesting now, because last week Congressman Byron Donalds was at HBO studios in California, not on the House floor. But somehow news reports say he also voted here on the House floor at the same time. And this is so interesting, Mr. Speaker, because I have a tweet here from 2 years ago when Representative Donalds says, and I quote, "Today, House Republicans will vote to end proxy voting once and for all. The House of Representatives isn't a tech company. Its members should work in person in the people's house," end quote. Yet he voted by proxy, and after he voted to end proxy voting. And this is the kind of hypocrisy that appears to be a specialty with my Republican colleagues. And again, Mr. Speaker, let me ask if I can make a further parliamentary inquiry.
Status parliamentary inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, let's say a member of Congress has a baby. Let's say they're undergoing treatment for chemotherapy. Let's say a close family member dies. Is there a provision in the rules for them to vote remotely?
Provide advisory opinions or respond to hypothetical questions.
Well, Mr. Speaker, this is not hypothetical, and I kind of get what's going on here. But we have a colleague, Representative Pedersen, who is currently home because she just gave birth. She can't vote because this majority has refused to put in place a bipartisan tool to allow it. Meanwhile, Republicans are out here breaking the rules while they jet off to Hollywood. So clearly the rules apply and are held so sacrosanct by the majority that they can't be changed for new moms, but somehow they can be changed for interviews in Los Angeles. So, let it apply to thee and not me. Mr. Speaker, further inquiry: were Representative Donalds' votes recorded as if he cast them properly, or has his absence been recorded?
The chair would direct the gentleman to Clause 2 of Rule 3.
So if I understand that correctly, they were recorded, even though he wasn't here in person.
The gentleman is free to consult the records of the House.
Okay. I have, and his vote was recorded even though he wasn't here. So let's just call this what it is. It's voter fraud under the rules that the Republicans have put into place. Let's not even get started about who used Donald's card to vote for him. They are fraudulently casting votes on the House floor to make sure they win every time, whether or not they have enough members here. But apparently the voter fraud is okay if they do it. This is unbelievable. I reserve my time.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman.
Republicans love to talk about imaginary voter fraud, I guess almost as much as they love to commit it. Byron Donalds broke the law, and broke a ridiculous law, as Jim McGovern laid out, instituted by the MAGA Congress, that is coming back to bite them in the butt, and I'm sure will again over and over and over, because their majorities are about that thin. They can't afford to lose votes. That's why Byron Donalds voted illegally. And I'm sure there's going to be many more instances of that in the future. But can we just look at the hypocrisy here? It is absolutely ridiculous. And I would like to see Byron Donalds held accountable or forced to explain in the disingenuous way he does why he broke that law. Why, Byron? I thought you loved keeping it nice and secure. Apparently not. Rules for thee, not for Byron. But it's not the only example of hypocrisy we see from MAGA all the time. Of course, during the election, they couldn't stop talking about prices. Prices they clearly don't care about, because we've seen what's happened since they took office. Not a single word about eggs, any other groceries, rent, gas, don't seem to care. Someone who broke that down really well. It's Joy Reid right here.
As Trump's barrage of executive orders and vows to grab multiple foreign countries continue to reach new lows, it is worth noting that while he's playing with his magic marker, signing meaningless orders on ending the penny and naming himself the chief curator of entertainment at the Kennedy Center in Washington and proclaiming Gulf of America Day, while also trying to rewrite history by punishing any government or law enforcement official involved in investigating his attempt to overthrow the government, there is a massive MAGA grift going on while much of America is distracted. This while the price of basically everything keeps rising. Remember, Trump mainly won on the economy, right? He won on the groceries.
I won on two things, the border and more than immigration. You know, they like to say immigration. I break it down more to the border, but I won on the border and I won on groceries. It's a very simple word, groceries. Like almost, you know, who uses the word? I started using the word, the groceries, and I won an election based on that. We're going to bring those prices way down.
I think he genuinely thinks he invented the word groceries. Okay, that was then. Yet in the week since his inauguration, we have seen the groceries and all the other prices increasing almost across the board. According to a data assembly index, Meal Solutions, the meal services for ready-to-eat options are up 4.4%. Baking items up 2.8%. Candy, gum, 6.2%. Grain, beans, and pasta up 2.2%. Egg prices, which we are making a point to track here on the show, are now more expensive than at any point in the last decade. It's gotten to the point where even Fox is asking him about it, and he's going to have to do better than giving total non sequiturs if and when they keep it up.
So if all goes to plan, when do you think families will be able to feel prices going down, groceries, energy, or are you kind of saying to them, hang on, inflation may get worse until it gets better?
No, I think we're going to become a rich. Look, we're not that rich right now. We owe $36 trillion. That's because we let all these nations take advantage of us. Same thing, like $200 billion with Canada. We owe 300. We have a deficit with Mexico of $350 billion. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let that happen.
Joining me now is Ron Insana, CNBC senior analyst and CEO of iFi.ai. Ron, let me just put this chart up here. Eggs up 78.6 points. Baby formula is up. Candy, gum, meal solutions, beverages, everything is more expensive. Why?
Well, we still have a sticky inflation problem from the last many years, Joy. Now, eggs in particular, I mean, you can't blame President Biden, and quite frankly, you can't blame President Trump. We have culled 140 million chickens since the bird flu outbreak started in 2022. So this is where things get kind of sticky. In explaining inflation, some of it comes as a result of the pandemic and the working through that we had to go, the disruption of supply chains. Some has to do with the Fed being maybe overly stimulative, the government spending a lot of money. And so prices, generally speaking, are about 20% above where they were in 2019. But to date, this president has not kept his promise to lower prices in any way, shape, or form. And in fact, if he imposes tariffs, as has been discussed and now implemented, that could raise the price even further of consumer goods, anything from houses to cars to aluminum foil, now that we have tariffs on steel and aluminum that were signed into executive order today.
These people are unserious about governing. They always have been, and they always will be. The only thing they do take seriously is lying and breaking the law, clearly. And then defending their lying and breaking the law with more lies and more law breaking. Seems like it's the only thing that they can really do consistently. And I'm just so struck by the hypocrisy from Byron Donalds. It's not new for him, per se, but it is interesting how MAGA always finds a way to do the thing they claim Democrats are. As we always say, every Republican attack, every Republican accusation is really just an admission of the truth about them, a truth that we are calling out on this show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.